Than 190 Stellantis employees at the Sterling Heights assembly plant are being laid off. The vast majority are seasonal supplemental employees originally hired to cover those summer vacation vacancies.
Right now, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler are all under a lot of pressure. It could even be the end. Not only that, but the problems they're having have made people very worried about the future of the industry as a whole. Sure, these are Stellantis brands. They have also been having problems with internal strife, and they have a reputation for making what seems like a lot of bad choices. Things aren't just wrong here, nevertheless. What's going on then? This is what's happening to Stellantis because it's part of a bigger trend in the market. We, the buyers, are going to pay for it. The worst part? It could be too late to turn this around. Since the pandemic, this has been going on. Overall, sales of new cars are still lower than they were before the pandemic. Yes, even though the world is getting better, the car industry still hasn't fully returned, and Stellantis is feeling the effects more than most. What's the big deal? So, the numbers are pretty scary. Sales of Stellantis names have dropped sharply. Just in the last 5 years, sales of Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler cars have dropped by an amazing 39%. If you think that's bad, wait until you hear how Dodge is doing. Their sales have dropped by a huge 67% since their high point in 2013. Jeep isn't doing much better either. It only sold 642,924 cars in 2023, which is 44% less than its peak year in 2018. Do you really believe that? They haven't seen that low of a number in over 10 years. It's hard to ignore the effects of these weak sales. It's tough for dealerships these days because customers are looking at other, more appealing choices. People aren't as excited about new car launches as they used to be, which makes potential buyers less motivated. Let's also talk about stock. Stellantis has found itself sitting on a pile of cars that haven't been sold. Reports say that as of March 24, they had 1,400,000 brand new cars just sitting there, which is a big problem. So what's making this growth happen? To begin, changes were made to output because of problems in the supply chain. First, they increased production to get more cars on hand, but as sales slowed down and demand changed, they ended up with way too many cars that are now difficult to sell. Adding to the problem is the fact that many of the cars are old types. They're out of date and don't fit with what people want now, especially in competitive areas like medium SUVs. Because of this, Stellantis brands have a lot of days stock, which means that cars are sitting on store lots longer than usual for the industry. You might be asking how they got themselves into this mess. It's a mix of bad decisions, changing market conditions, and to be honest, a lack of strong backing from the maker. Let's look at how Stellantis got here and break it down. This is a big problem, and the Stellantis National Dealer Council is calling out for CEO Carlos Tavares to be held responsible. Their main problem? They say that his short-term decisions are a big reason why both market share and supplier profits have gone down. I mean it, it's a big worry. But why is that? There was no holding back in a letter from the Dealer Council on September 10, 2024. It makes it clear that Tavares' plans seem to be more focused on short-term profits than long-term growth. His ways may have increased sales a little, just enough to make his paycheck much bigger, but sellers are complaining. They say this narrow-mindedness is hurting the value of the company and reducing its market share. What did the council say? It's possible that this road will end badly. And guess what? They think those statements are already coming true. Even worse, sellers are feeling more and more alone as they deal with these growing problems. Since Stellantis isn't giving them the help they need, the council was especially critical of the company's recent decisions to cut marketing budgets and change pay policies, which they say are making it harder for dealers to make money. This means that many sellers have a lot of cars that haven't been sold, which causes a lot of financial stress and anger across the dealer network. Let's talk about what will happen now. The council made it clear that Tavares' plans to cut costs are not working, even though they were made to make more money. For instance, when dealer pay is tied to shipments of vehicles instead of real sales, many sellers are left without any money. The company is also laying off workers and closing plants, which makes people even more worried about how stable its operations will be in the long run in North America. Maybe you want to know what's really going on behind the scenes. Let's find out. Their biggest problems are caused by three main problems. Let me explain it to you. Move away from old-style engines. First, let's move away from standard engines. The row over replacing the engine is real, people. Stellantis has thrown a surprise by releasing the Hurricane Twin Turbo inline-6 engine. It will be used in place of the popular standard V8 engines in a number of models. It is said that this new engine will get better gas mileage and put out fewer pollutants while still trying to keep power levels the same as the weights. That sounds good, right? But hold your horses. Both sellers and customers have said some very bad things about it. Let's talk about what people want. People who have loved the power and speed of Dodge and Ram's V8 engines for a long time aren't sure about the switch to turbocharged 6-cylinder engines. People are still worried that these changes will make driving less enjoyable, which is what loyal customers have come to expect from these well-known names. After all, Dodge and Ram make you think of strength and muscle. Then there's the market welcome. The new Hurricane engine isn't just an update, it's part of Stellantis' larger plan to cut carbon emissions and make their cars use less fuel. But there is a catch. Customers are still not sure if they will accept this change. This is especially true in a market that values standard engine performance. Will people join the new tech, or will they hold on to the old days of screaming V8s? Now we'll talk about the speed versus economy argument. The Hurricane engine is balanced. It has two low inertia turbochargers that make the power reaction quick and modern fuel injection systems that make it as efficient as possible. Though these cool new features have been added, some people are against the change because they think it might turn off customers who really like the old school V8 experience. When potential buyers compared their choices to those of competitors who still had those strong, reliable V8s, this gap really hurt sales. Ineffective ways to reward people. It's a big deal that Stellantis is behind the competition when it comes to changing how much it spends on incentives. To get people to buy their cars, other companies are offering bigger discounts and better credit options. But Stellantis has been putting in less work to promote its cars. This has made things very hard for their sellers, leaving them feeling stuck in a tough market. Let us now talk about how those sellers are under a lot of pressure. They can really feel the heat. They are having a harder time with their finances because they have a lot of stock that they can't sell. Plus, the maker doesn't offer good help, so it's a perfect storm of problems. A lot of sellers are saying that the costs of keeping all that empty stock are too high and could cause them to lose a lot of money. Think about how stressful it would be to see your stock just sitting there, getting dusty. Besides that, more and more people are asking Stellantis to give them more help. The National Dealer Council isn't holding back. They want Stellantis to make its reward scheme stronger. Why? To help sellers get rid of their extra stock and give them a fighting chance in this tough market. Dealers are worried that Stellantis will keep putting up unsold cars, which could hurt their profits even more if the company doesn't step up its incentives. Things are not looking good for these sellers, and something needs to change right away to help them get back on track. Prices going up even though sales are down. Stellantis is facing rising prices and low sales. What does this really mean for the company? Let's get down to the details. Dealership sales are going down, especially for Jeep, which dropped 9%, and Ram, which dropped an amazing 20%. Because of this, the company has decided to raise car prices. What was the point of this move? Even if demand goes down, don't cut your earning margins. Hold on though, because this plan could be going horribly wrong. What does this mean? Concerns about affordability are really hurting. People are afraid to buy because prices are going up, especially since people are tightening their wallets right now. People are being picky about where they spend their hard-earned money because interest rates are going up and the economy is unclear. Who wants to spend more on a car that might not look or work as well as it says it will? Now, let's take a closer look at the problems that come with inventory. Because of these annoyingly low sales numbers and rising prices, there is now a huge amount of stock on hand. Stellantis had an amazing 1.4 million cars in stock as of March 24. That's a lot more than what's normal in the business. Even more problems are caused by the large number of vehicles that sellers are trying to sell, even though many shoppers are unwilling to pay the high prices that these vehicles are priced at. Think about it. Sellers are stuck with cars that don't fit what buyers want right now and are fighting to get them off the lot. It will be terrible if prices go up and sales drop. No one wants that to happen. So can Stellantis turn fast enough to get their footing back, or are they making things worse by steering? What do you think about this way of setting prices? Let me talk about each car now. Let's take them apart together. Chrysler, Right now, things aren't going smoothly for Chrysler. The company is going down a lot because it doesn't have many vehicles to choose from and is having a hard time keeping competitive in the constantly changing car market. Can you believe the brand now only has 2 models? The Chrysler 300 car and the Pacifica minivan? A lot of people were worried about Chrysler's future after seeing this scary trend. First, let's talk about that small selection of cars. The fact that Chrysler only has the 300 and Pacifica in their current lineup is truly worrisome. Seriously, that lack of variety doesn't just make it harder for customers to choose, it also puts Chrysler at a huge disadvantage when compared to competitors who show off a lot more cars. We're talking about SUVs and crossovers, which are becoming more and more famous and seem to be taking over the market. A lot has changed in the car industry, and now classic sedans like the Chrysler 300 are having a hard time staying relevant. It's true that the Pacifica is still doing well in the minivan market, but it's not selling enough to keep the whole business going. Here, let's talk about the prices, since customers are talking about them a lot. When compared to other brands, Chrysler's surviving models are beginning to feel a bit expensive. For example, look at the Pacifica. People like how family-friendly it is and how many features it has, but many are looking at options like the Honda Odyssey and Toyota Sienna, which are often thought to be more affordable. This way of setting prices is really making it hard for Chrysler to get budget-conscious customers, since there are a lot of other cars available at lower prices. On the back end of things, we're noticing a worrying trend. Ideas for rebirth within the company are being turned down. It is said that Stellantis management has ignored efforts to bring the Chrysler name back to life. This points to a worrying lack of a long-term plan for the future. Insiders and experts in the industry are talking about a lot of different ways that Chrysler could improve its products, such as making the company's cars green or releasing new models that meet the needs of today's customers. Carlos Tavares, CEO of Stellantis, has said that choices about brand strategy will be based on success measures instead of how much people care about old names. This practical method might have some good points, but it makes me very worried about Chrysler's long-term chances, especially since it has to fight for resources with a lot of different names. How does this affect Chrysler's ability to compete? Its market position is being badly hurt by its limited product line and high prices, which are making the car market more and more crowded. Chrysler risks becoming less well known as people choose names with a wider range of choices at lower prices. From where things are going now, it looks like Chrysler could lose even more sales and market importance in the future if they don't make some big changes. Analysts think that if Stellantis keeps ignoring Chrysler's chance to get back on track, the brand might be canceled altogether. Ram cars. Ram truck costs and models have become very confusing for customers, especially since popular models are being taken off the market and more advanced technology choices are making the trucks more expensive. Let's look at what's going on with Ram truck prices right now and what it means for buyers in this market. The Ram 1500 Classic has been taken out of the range, which is a big deal because it means models are no longer being made. This truck was the best choice for first-time buyers who wanted a solid pickup that wouldn't break the bank. Now that this model is no longer being made, buyers will have to pay more for the base 2500 Ram 1500, which starts at $42,270. That's a big jump from the Classic's $44,770 price tag. Through this change, a cheap choice for people who want to buy a new Ram has been taken away. Now let us talk about how it will affect cost. The lack of the Ram 1500 Classic has raised major worries about how affordable the rest of the Ram range is. With the new model's higher starting prices and the lack of cheaper options, people who are trying to stick to a budget are feeling squished. Because of this, a lot of people who are interested in buying might look at competing names that have cheaper entry-level models. It's like a chain reaction that might make them never want to see Ram again. When it comes to rising prices for new models, you'll notice that the newest Rams, especially the 25-inch Ram 1500, are packed with high-tech features and tech that are supposed to make them faster and more comfortable. Take the launch of the Hurricane engine family as an example. In place of those old V8 engines, this powerhouse has a twin-turbo inline-6 engine that uses less gas and produces more power. But what's the catch? All of these new ideas are making prices go up everywhere. Let's look at the prices in more detail. The base tradesman model of the 25-year-old Ram 1500 starts at about $42,270, but that's just the beginning. Very expensive upgrades, like the very expensive tungsten type, can cost up to $89,790. The Ram 1500 TRX, on the other hand, is the ultimate speed machine and starts at an unbelievable $98,335. That is a lot of money for a truck. How do people feel about all these changes now? Prices are going up while sales are going down, as shown by the worrying 20% drop in Ram sales. Buyers are definitely feeling the financial pressure. A lot of people are afraid to spend their money on more expensive cars right now, especially since things like inflation and rising interest rates are making the economy unsure. This hesitation can make people not want to buy as much, which can cause them to either put off their purchases or look for other options that might be a better deal. Let's add some market competition to the mix now. Even though Ram is raising its prices, smart rivals like Ford and Chevrolet are still giving their models at starting prices that are hard to resist. For example, you can get a Ford F-150 for as little as $38,960. When prices are that low, it's easy to see why people might decide to look at these other options instead of going with Ram. So what does this all mean for how Ram sets its prices? Well, since their cars are getting more expensive and there aren't as many cheap choices, they might be pushing potential buyers right out the door without meaning to. It's becoming a numbers game, and Ram could lose sales that could really change how it places itself in this very competitive market. The Jeep Wrangler. These rising prices and the growing number of used Jeep Wranglers on the market are beginning to hurt Jeep's ability to stay ahead of the competition. Let's learn more about how this world is changing. We're going to talk about some shocking price increases. The price of brand new Jeep Wranglers has gone up a lot in the past few months. For example, the 24x24 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon is up over $15,000. When all of those cool features and changes are added to some combinations, the price gets very close to $100,000. So why are these prices going through the roof? Well, there are a few main things going on here. To begin, the newest models come with a lot of high-tech tools and features that make them safer and better at what they do. Of course, these changes make driving better, but they also make the price go up a lot. Then there are the changes in the market to think about. As a result of inflation and ongoing supply chain problems that are driving up production costs, prices in the car industry have been going up generally. Consumers will eventually have to pay more for cars because makers are having to adapt to these economic forces. Now, how do people who want to buy react to all these big price hikes? It turns out that a lot of people are starting to wonder if buying a brand new Wrangler at these high prices is really a good idea, even more so when they can look around the market and find cheaper options from other companies that are similar. Now, let's talk about how used Jeep Wranglers are becoming more popular as cheaper options. As the price of a brand new Jeep keeps going up, smart shoppers are looking at the used market as a better choice. There is a wide range of prices for used Jeep Wranglers. Some older models can be bought for as little as $3,999.99, while almost new models like the $22,199 Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon can fetch around $63,499. With this many options, owners can find something within their means that still gives them a Jeep feel. One big selling point for used Wranglers is how well they hold their worth. Wranglers tend to hold their value well over time. This makes these used models a great choice for people who want a reliable car but don't want to pay the high price of a new one. Also, there are a lot of different sizes and options on the used market, so buyers can pick and choose the features that are most important to them. Whether it's off-road capability or everyday usability, let's not forget the very important cash issues. For owners, buying a used Jeep Wrangler can make their finances a lot easier. Because new cars are getting more expensive, many people choose to buy used cars instead. They can get the same features and speed without spending as much. What does all of this mean for Jeep's ability to compete? Well, those higher prices are beginning to hurt Jeep's standing in the car market. When people are thinking about what to buy, they may be tempted to look at other brands that offer similar products at better prices. There's a lot more competition now that brands like Ford and Toyota are stepping up to offer good options to SUVs, often at lower starting prices. Jeep might lose sales if they can't successfully address worries about cost. This could hurt them in the long run. Last but not least, Dodge. Dodge is having a tough time right now because it has big problems with its inventory and product strategy, which is affecting its success and its relationship with retailers. What's really wrong? That's a lot. Take a look at the huge amount of stock. We have a big problem on our hands with the Dodge Hornet. This cute little car has become one of the least wanted cars on the market, and it's quite clear why. As of June 2004, there were 350 days worth of Hornets sitting on dealer lots, which is a huge amount. This means that they probably won't be flying off the shelves anytime soon. There is a lot of competition in the small SUV market, which makes this problem even worse. There are many other options for shoppers that might give them more for their money. When you look at how the market is doing, the sales numbers scream disconnect, with only 1,283 units sold in the last 45 days. It's clear that Dodge isn't giving customers what they want. Right now, dealers have a huge pile of cars that haven't been sold. This costs them a lot of money because they have to pay for storage costs for cars that no one wants to buy. On top of all that, Dodge is moving toward electric cars. And let's be honest, both customers and sellers have different feelings about this. Traditional favorites like the Charger and Challenger will be replaced with electric versions like the Dodge Charger, Daytona SRT. This is in line with industry trends that focus on sustainability, but it hasn't exactly won over fans who love those loud engines. There are mixed feelings among consumers about this change to electric vehicles. Many die-hard Dodge fans are worried about it. These muscle cars were famous for their power and speed, but the later electric types don't have the same qualities. There is still a fear that these changes might not give fans the pure thrill and driving experience they've come to expect, which would make them unhappy. Let's not forget that people still want classic types. Even though there is a clear demand for classic power cars, Dodge's present plan seems to ignore this market group totally. They stopped making well-known favorites without giving good replacements, which makes many loyal customers feel like they were thrown away like toys that were never played with again. Dealers are making their worries about Dodge's product plan very clear. They're having a hard time because they don't have enough of the things that customers want. This gap is making sales go down and sellers more and more unhappy because they feel like they're playing a lost game with company tactics that don't match up with sales and customer tastes in the real world. But what do you think about this? What do you think about these well-known names right now? Say what you think in the comments. Thanks for seeing. The next video will be with you.